Vietnamese people are wild animals, but don't misunderstand. I much, it's best that Vietnamese people be worse than wild animals. And Saigon should get rid of that law of having to stop at a red light. They should go back to the good old days. And Mexican cartel anarchy is our solution. Now don't misunderstand. When I say Mexican cartel anarchy, I mean equaling the playing field. Having people that don't look like they can match and deal with the inquisitors. Another Spanish Inquisition. You get the point. Because cartelism is horrible. The cartel is horrible. And when I say Mexican cartel anarchists or anarchy, I mean I don't. It has nothing to do with anything Mexican, nothing to do with anything cartel like. It's just to make things more fair. At least this time in some ways. I don't know the exact amount. And I'm the reincarnation of Charles Coughlin, father of hate radio. I'm the father of hate video. And Pontius Pilate, I tell you, my favorite guard in Squid Games, I think the reason why nobody says this reason for liking the Circle Guard because you'd be called a perverted maniac, etc. But my favorite guard in Squid Games is the Circle Guard. Because as a Circle Guard, you get to see people naked. You get to undress and dress up people, especially you may find attractive, That's the great thing about being a Circle Guard. You get to see people naked, and all that hard work as a Circle Guard is well worth it because you get to see people, you get to see the players naked. So if I was a Circle Guard, I would refuse, and I was given a promotion, I would refuse it if all possible. I'm content being a Circle Guard because I get to see people naked as a Circle Guard, especially people, you find attractive naked, As a Circle Guard, you get to see some of the players you find attractive naked. So that's why the Circle Guard's my favorite in Squid Games. And, what Saint Pontius Pilate, the greatest of saints, what Pontius Pilate did in his backstory historically, he was known for condemning innocent people to death. That's why the Jews and Pharisees tried to have Pontius Pilate, the governor, to deal with Jesus Christ. What Pontius Pilate did, condemning innocent people to death, that's no different than giving out vaccines, than injecting people with vaccines at a health clinic, than being a pharmacist and selling pharmaceutical drugs, selling pharmaceutical pills, medications, etc. That's no different than that. It's about a similar type of thing. And I think the reason why people are able to do that type of work like Pontius Pilate, condemning innocent people to death, because they either had a lot of bad experiences dealing with people. That's usually the case unconsciously, and or some other reason. That's their passion in life where they don't know why they do it. Usually because of bad experiences dealing with people. That's why they do it. I've understood. Because people, they'll push you to be that type of person. And, on to the video. Anything else I could come up with, talk about. And, Jubei from Ninja Scroll looks like Man Bitch Rambo. And that old little short man, that old man who's short, has white hair in Ninja Scroll, that anime. He looks like Yoda the little green faggot. That's what he looks like. And I tell you, Vietnamese people, Vietnam is a very lawless country, even worse than Mexico. Vietnamese people be throwing rocks at each other for no good reason at all. And out of all other races of people I've done extensive research on, Vietnamese people are the most easily offended race of people. They stone each other to death, throw bricks at each other, etc. Vietnam might as well have no government. Vietnamese people, I mean, might as well have no government because, they're already anarchy and lawlessness type of people. So they don't need, they don't need no government. They don't need nobody ruling over them. Might as well do whatever they want to do. It's what they might as well do. Anarchy is the way. Mexican cartel anarchy is more like the way. Especially Mexican cartel funky town. That's true godliness. But what's even more truer godliness than that is, Griffin in the anime Berserk being tortured and kept alive. Now you can't get any more truly godly than that. Torture and keeping alive, that's definitely very godly. That ancient Chinese style of torture, cutting off a person's body parts and keeping them alive for one whole month. That's what I think the ancient Chinese kings and emperors did. That's true. That's true godliness. I think in some ways even worse. I don't know the exact amount. In some ways even worse than Mexican cartel funky town. But one thing we know for a fact: Mexican cartel funky town, it outdid the Spanish Inquisition. That's for sure. It definitely outdid the Inquisition. But the best type of torture I ever seen in my life, and I'm sure they had to have this in real life, was in that anime Berserk. Griffin being tortured and kept alive, I think, for 2 years. I think he had his nerves and stuff, his tongue cut out, and his body, he was skinned alive, and his dick cut off, etc. But the way Griffin in the Berserk anime was tortured and kept alive, man, that was the worst torture ever seen. I mean, you can't get any more true godliness than that.
Oliver is not alone. Someone's pulling string.
Now, I forgot to introduce, if you want to look me up on the Sekai app, there's my name on my account. You want to look me up. My other Sekai account is Aaron Iman, except there's no space on it, or I'll show you just a bit. As you can see, my other account's username, I somehow wasn't able to sign in it. It's Aaron Iman, there's no space, as you can see, you get the point.